Hey guys, what's going on? This is another episode of Dark Souls 2 PvP. I'm just doing a few random invasions here, going to talk about a few things. This setup right here is my flame weapon setup. I would not call it a pyromancer, as I have had bad experiences with the pyromancies so far. Pretty much, I have had the ability to try a lot of different setups due to the soul vessels, and pretty much I think I've tried just about everything, at least briefly, to kind of get a taste for everything and what's good and what's not good. And I'm not even talking about competitive PvP, as that's not even something I'm thinking about right now, because this is still in the feeling out stages of the game. Just trying different stuff, and after that we'll see what we can do for competitive PvP afterwards. But so far, my flame weapon setup is it has the ability to use a lot of different weapons. If you make them fire, then you buff them with a flame weapon. And you're going to have pretty good damage. You're going to have pretty good damage. You're going to have a lot of extra points that you can dump into, endurance or vitality or whatever you want to dump them into, due to the fact that you're not having to dump a lot of points into a primary stat to buff your weapon. You kind of meet the minimum stat requirements for whatever weapon you're going to be using, and then you rely on the flame weapon to buff it even more. Um, Whereas, if you was going to make, say, a strength weapon, you'd put 40 into strength. A dex weapon, you put 40 into dex, which I would highly advise not to go that route, because it seems like the dex weapons in this game just don't get a lot of, they don't get a lot of bang for their buck there. However, if you make them elemental, definitely the movesets are better, in my experience, than the strength. And that's not including, great swords. Great swords were kind of they're meant to be like a quality weapon, but they're definitely very powerful great swords. But I'm talking about, like ultra great swords. I was using like ultra great swords. I've experimented a little bit with them, and they're just. I mean, I could hit anyone with them. I guess you either have to be really good with them, or opponent has to be really bad. It's got to be one of the two, don't it? So, but yeah, back to the flame weapon setup. Um, the pyromancies in this game. The reason I haven't really made a video of using a lot of pyromancies. I'm not digging them, man. I mean, I love Great Fireball and Great Chaos Fireball, but on this game, it just seems like they take so long to cast. And I mean, that's not even a it's not even an issue if you could increase their casting speed with the stat that is called increased casting speed in the game. And I had it set up to where I compared somebody with 50 casting speed to somebody with 365 casting speed, and I buff my character up, and it barely affects pyromancies, like maybe a tenth of a second or something on Great Fireball and Fire Tempest. So that pretty much isn't something that you'd want to invest your points into for something that's not even going to be effective anyways. And it seems like on the Great Resonant Soul here, it doesn't really affect that either. I tend to get a little bit, uh, well, I noticed a little bit that it does affect, seems like, the catalyst sorceries like Soul Spear and stuff. But as far as Pyro Glove, it's just not doing it for me. Fire Tempest is either you're not close enough or you're too close. If you're too close, you get stun locked. At least on, if you had the poise, if poise worked, you could tank a hit, and still get your Fire Tempest off. And if you wasn't so locked into your animation, it's just a few back pedals away and you're getting hit while you're locked in your Firestorm animation with a Soul Spear or a Resonant Soul or something that's going to almost kill you in one hit. So, don't even talk about the Great Combustion, because Great Combustion is definitely nerfed, because if you use it on this game, not only are you trying to exchange a Great Combustion's, how he kind of swings his arm out like that, you're trying to exchange that with, in most cases, a buff weapon. And that's where I would take the melee weapon, the melee R1 spam, over any kind of Great Combustion or any kind of short range spell that I have used. There may be some that I haven't tried out that might be good. Soul Great Sword is kind of a medium range spell. I wouldn't cast it right in front of nobody's face. Um, Flame Whip. Flame Whip's okay. It's not something I would use if I wanted to win. It's either that or I just haven't got good at these spells. But really, what upsets me the most is the fireball spells. They just take so long to cast. You can't aim them the way you did in Dark Souls 1. For one thing, when you go to throw a fireball, I mean, he throws it so far, it's like you're Michael Vick or something. I don't know. You want to throw it outside the whole game, which is fine for PvE if you're trying to aim way off in the distance. But you know, you can kind of in Dark Souls 1 kind of judge where the fireball was going to end, and that's the way you knew by how far you were from your opponent if you could hit them or not, or if you could angle the camera at a certain direction. On this one, there is no, you know, the fireball never comes down from the air hardly, unless it's way away, you know. So that doesn't really benefit you in PvP much. Um, so either or, you know, either they're close range where you can throw it at the ground, or you're locked on and you're just trying to hit them, which is pretty much impossible. There is a flame swath. Is it's the same way. It does damage, but it's so telegraphic. It's so predictable. It's so easy to avoid. You just roll, get out of the way. Forbidden Sun is it can be. Forbidden Sun is pretty much like the new Great Combustion. It's when they got the prowl hand out. You know, if you're going to get hit by something, that's the one you're going to get hit by. Only if you don't expect it. You know. But yeah, that spell takes like 3 attunement slots, so I don't really like it that much. I don't really like any of them. Now for PvE, they're great for PvE, man. Those spells I love Firestorm, Fire Tempest, but for PvP, I hadn't had a lot of luck with them yet. And that's something that I plan on doing is, you know, trying to do something. Maybe I have to use the binoculars and cast in first person, but I don't know. Gonna do something to get the Pyromancy back into the gameplay, man. I love Pyromancy. It's great. It's great spell tree. It's a great spell tree, especially with Flame Weapon, you know. Flame Weapon's a pretty cool addition they've added. Um, so for the most part, I'm just, you know, doing no hex setup. It seems like I still do more PvE than I do PvP, you know. And the Resonant Soul, I mean, that is a spell. That is a laser from hell, man. That's a guaranteed 1200 damage. And I don't think you could. It seems like it does the same amount of damage on everybody. And maybe that's just because everybody's dark defense is the same or whatever. But even on PvE, it does around 1200 against everybody. I remember I was fighting the Mirror Knight earlier, man. I just cut him down to pieces. I think I was hitting him for 800 a pop. And I had somebody up there tanking for me. And that match didn't last, you know, hardly any time at all. Then you got the Resonant Weapon, which is the best buff. So when you compare something like this to the Flame weapon setup, when Flame, you know, you have the additional points you can put your stats into it, whether if I don't even know if defense is really viable or not yet, because I've been rocking with low defense setups so I can kind of fast roll at a long distance. But you know, if somebody finds out that their vitality is something that we really need for, because you got to have 1000 defense for something, then that is a setup I've got that can potentially be good for something like that. And you know, when it comes down to serious PvP, that Ninja Turtle armor could be something that everybody would want to use to negate backstabs. I think that's what it does. I haven't ever used it. Um, but I know those heavier armors. Or, you know, if they fix poise. If they was to fix poise in PvP, wouldn't that change everything up? I mean, I guess you could, for one, if they put poison into the game, you can start doing setup parries. Uh, it would be worth your effort to even learn to parry in PvP, because like right now, if you try to parry, you're gonna get stun locked. If you miss, you gotta be pretty much perfect. So, with that said, that could be a way of, that could be a build that would be good in the future for uh, variety and viability, I guess you would say. But right now, I've tried intelligence builds. I like the hex better than intelligence. I haven't tried a pure faith build. Um, I was looking through a lot of the spells, and I don't see a lot of them being uh, as useful as the Resonant Soul. And the Dark Storm actually is a good spell if you can get it off. That's the problem, if you can get it off. And it seems like it's a lot easier just to engage somebody and try to melee with them than it is to try to hit them with a fancy Dark Storm or something, you know. So hexes are the way to go for spells, in my opinion. Uh, I had respect to an intelligence build, saw like Soul Barrage and all that stuff. They don't do as much damage, and they are pretty telegraphic. I thought Soul Shower would do some more damage, but didn't really do a lot of damage on PvE or PvP. And I had the Staff of Wisdom, or whatever that staff's called. That's S. I had it up all the way, and it just didn't seem to be getting a lot. I've also trying, I'm testing the bleed out too on like deal daggers, because I recently got stun locked to death by double claws. Man, I was like, whoa. So I tried that out, and the bleed seems to be, I don't know, it's don't seem to be that useful on this game compared to the first, but maybe that's just my experience. But yeah, I was just making a quick video here talking about some pyromancy, doing some random invasions, and that's pretty much all of this video. I will be trying to get some pyromancy highlights here in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully we can get a high speed video going on, get some high speed invasions with some pyromancy. But until then, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get off here, and I will see y'all next time. Thanks for watching.